Před pár hodinami byl zveřejněn velice zajímavý rozhovor CEO společnosti Anthony Noto na kanále CNBC, který poslal cenu akcie okamžitě výše. Aktuální cena akcie společnosti SoFi na trhu je za mě dnes velice lákavá a já jsem neodolal a opět jsem na ceně okolo $6.17 přikupoval. S výhledem snižování úrokových sazeb a dnešním opětovným poklesem CPI inflace je toto ještě zajímavější. Já jsem David, tak jdeme na to. Ještě než se podíváme na samotné video, shrnul jsem pár bodů pro vás v kostce. Noto tvrdí, že naše úvěrová kvalita funguje podle očekávání a nevidíme zde žádné varovné chování. Toto je přesně místo, kde chceme být, tvrdí. Jinými slovy říká, že klienti nemají problémy se splácením. A jak jistě víte, za pár týdnů, konkrétně to je 37. budou opět zveřejněny výsledky druhého kvartálu hospodaření společnosti. A toto je tudíž pozitivní znak, že by nemuseli rozhodně dopadnout až tak špatně. No to dále říká, jsme v pozici pro opravdu silný růst příjmu. V roce 2025 pozitivně překvapíme Wall Street, obstáli jsme skvěle v období vysokých úrokových sazeb a vyloženě jsem zvědav na to, co se bude dít, až úrokové sazby klesnou ještě víc. Rosteme, aniž bychom použili peníze, které máme v záloze. Jsme ziskoví, potřebujeme určitá snížení. Jsme pozicováni na 2 snížení úrokových sazeb do konce roku 2024, což je podle nás ta správná a bezpečná varianta oproti prudkému poklesu úrokových sazeb. Jsme diversifikovaní, snažíme se zmírnit expozici na rizikovější sektor půjček, teď, když jsou vysoké úrokové sazby, a naopak posílit finanční sektor a sektor technologií. Abyste pochopili, není to o tom, že jim klesalo množství půjček, které realizují z důvodu toho, že by o ně nebyl zájem, ale společnost si sama vybrala nepůjčovat tolik. Vytvořit tak daleko hustší síto kvalitních půjček, ve kterém zamítají až 80% všech žádostí. Je potřeba připomenout, že vydali slabší předpoklad právě na následující druhý kvartál, ale naopak zvýšili celoroční výhled. Určitě se nezapomeňte podívat i na minulé předešlé video mezi finančním ředitelem SoFi Lapointe a analytikem společnosti Mizuho, kde se odpovídalo na stěžejní otázky. A to na jestli je potřeba se strachovat o technologickou platformu a jak reálné je pro SoFi dosáhnout svého cíle EPS ke konci roku 2026. Tak pojďme na rozhovor.
That's right. I'm joined now by Anthony Noto, the CEO of SoFi. Thanks so much for joining us here. Before we talk about your business, I want to talk more big picture about the conversation here in Sun Valley, specifically about the state of the economy, given your purview through your business, as well as the conversations you've been having with other CEOs. What's your sense of the economy right now?
Yeah, I'd say the conversation really kind of pivots around 2 points. One is where's the consumer, how are they performing from a credit standpoint, and where are interest rates going in the economy. On the interest rate point, we came out of Q1 having reported 26% year-over-year revenue growth with really no growth in our lending business, which is a really strong quarter, and we're really pleased with how things have gone since then. We've came out of that quarter thinking there'd be 1 to 2 rate cuts and positioned our business to do that, which would give us still attractive revenue growth, maintaining profitability, but just as importantly, having a strong balance sheet to take advantage of when rates go down. I think the consensus view is starting to come into picture, and people will believe we'll continue to get the data points on inflation, continue to see an uptick in unemployment, but not too bad, and we'll have 1 to 2 rate cuts by the end of the year, which would be really positive. As it relates to the consumer, we've seen really good trends in spending. We've seen really strong demand for refinancing personal loans as people are trying to lower their debt so they can make sure they're planning for the future. So overall, our company's performed really well in this environment. I'm glad we took the stance of lower rate cuts than everyone else because it's positioned us now to benefit when rates start to come down. So I like how we're positioned. And for the first time, I'd say in 2 years, there's a more central consensus view about rates and where credit is. And credit actually has performed relatively well throughout the year. And that's something I heard from a couple CEOs last night. And we're really happy with where it's performed as well, in line with our tolerance levels and our expectations. So all in all, I think we're setting up for a pretty strong back half of the year in 2025. If we get the right fiscal policy.
Well, we're going to talk more about fiscal policy in a minute, but I just want to return to something you said. I know you've been introducing new things such as alternative investments, but also you mentioned you're not doing as many student loans. What is behind that policy, and where are you shifting your focus to effectively follow or lead consumers and where you want to be growing the business?
Sure. As we came into 2024, there was a view that actually rates would be cut 4 or 5 times, and we believed that for rates to be cut that frequently, there would have to be a recession or some type of underlying problem. It turns out we'll get 1 to 2 rate cuts, which is where we've been positioned. And as we thought about the environment and thought about how much we invested in our financial services business, our SoFi Money product, our SoFi Invest product, our credit card product, as well as our technology platform, we had an opportunity to drive really strong growth there at 50% and really pull back in the lending business to be more conservative, to wait to see where the economy shakes out, where interest rates shake out. And now we're coming into a picture where that's a lot clearer. So we've delivered really strong growth without really using the lending business to help drive it. And now we're in a position where, as we go into 2025, to use both.
Now, of course, your business all started with student loans. And then just last week, a federal appeals court allowed a key part of Biden's student loan repayment plan to resume, staying in an order that had temporarily blocked it. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth on this. But how does Biden's efforts to repay student loans impact your business? And how do you see some of these legal changes and sort of the whole appeals process and the outcomes impacting your business going forward?
Yeah, we've really focused on people that have private student loans. Those are people that are still managing their cost and giving them cost savings on refinancing their private student loans, and that's been a smart strategy. It's a much smaller percent of our business. We gave guidance that we'll do close to $2.5 billion of revenue this year. We'll see really strong growth from the other businesses, so we're much less dependent on it. The fact that we grew 26% year over year in Q1 with no growth in lending overall is a great indication that we've invested in other areas that are really paying off for us. And the response that we're seeing for consumers in our SoFi Money product with 4.6% interest rate, SoFi Invest product, as you mentioned, offering them alternative assets and now IPOs, we've seen a great response there, and it's allowed us to go after other growth areas and not be so vulnerable to the whims of where the political or winds are blowing as it relates to student loans. I will say this, we've done well with a high rate environment and uncertainty around credit. I'm really excited about what will happen when rates start to come down, and you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. When rates come down, we'll see a real pickup in student loan refinancing. Right now, there are people with rates at 7 to 8% student loans, but we only can offer them in the 6s. As rates come down, we can start to offer them in the low 5s and maybe in high 4s, so that business will pick up. Our home loan business had historically been a refinancing business. We've invested a lot in being able to do purchase home loans, and we're now seeing that pick up and gaining market share there. And we've recently made the decision on home equity lines to give people even lower cost of debt. So as rates come down, we'll see a real pickup, and as long as the economy is stable and inflation is stable.
So you've mentioned various ways that your business is growing, but your stock is way down. Stock's down about 35% year to date, down about 19% since your last earnings report. I know that you have earnings coming up in a few weeks, so you're limited in terms of how many specifics you can share. But what's your message to investors? Why should they hold on when the stock is down so dramatically?
Yeah. The thing that we can control is our strategy and our execution. And for the last 7.5 years, our strategy has been consistent and our execution has been consistent. We've driven good, steady growth. When I joined the company, we had less than $300 million of revenue in 2018. Now we're over $2 billion of revenue. We weren't generating profits. We weren't generating positive EBITDA. Now we're generating both positive EBITDA and GAAP profitability. So I'm really pleased with what we're doing. In terms of the stock, I'm equally disappointed. I'm a big investor. Our employees are large investors. What we've seen and what we believe is happening is that the group of fintech companies that have credit exposure has been really hit hard. And they've been hit hard because of the uncertainty around interest rates. When will interest rates peak? And when will credit peak? And as I mentioned, we're really pleased with where credit's performed. We expected it to pick up a little bit, but it's within our tolerance levels. So good sign there. And as I mentioned, 1 to 2 rate cuts would be welcomed and moving in the right direction.
And what about AI? Will SoFi be the one to bring AI to retail banking, and will that really accelerate your results?
Yeah, there's a whole spectrum of technologies that we use every day to ensure that our product is safe, it's reliable, and we can be a trusted partner. Where we want to use AI is to fortify those areas, but we also want to use it to answer 3 questions every day. Because this is a financial show and we operate in a financial world, people want to talk about interest rates and consumer spending. We don't spend a ton of time talking about the product. but we are a product company, and my vision for the product is that you open up SoFi every day and you go to your member home feed just like you would to your Twitter home feed or your Facebook home feed or LinkedIn home feed, but we answer 3 questions for you in a personalized way. What must you do in your financial life that day? What should you do, and what can you do? AI allows us to take all the data about you and everyone else and answer those 3 questions.
Just a final question about politics, because I know the conversation about the presidential election is front and center here in Sun Valley. What outcome do you think would be best for the economy and for your business in particular?
Well, you know, I'll make an analogy. I went to West Point and I played football, and I want Navy to win 364 days of the year. But on that one day when they play Army, I want Army to win. And so I'd be lying to you and being, less than disingenuous if I didn't say our business would benefit from a Republican administration. There's more capital markets activity. There's more M&A activity. I want our country to be very strong and vibrant. And on one particular day, I'll be rooting for one particular party.
Anthony zmiňoval, že rosteme. A pojďme se tedy na to podívat jak. Já jsem toto pro vás zpracoval do takové jednoduché tabulky, kde vidíte v čase, jakým způsobem rostly počty účtů v milionech. Druhý kvartál 2022 měli 1,83 milionů a k poslednímu kvartálu 1,24 3,8 milionů. Jak vidíte, to je extrémní nárůst. Stejně tak množství depozitů z 2,7 miliardy jsme na dnešních 21,6 miliard. A jak vidíte, kvartál co kvartál to pravidelně naskakuje a roste. Poslední tabulka je počet, průměrné množství peněz na účtu společnosti SoFi. V roce 2022 druhý kvartál nějakých $1,400, dneska už jsme na hodnotě 5,680. Neméně důležitá metrika je i příjem z technologického sektoru neboli Galileo, jelikož tento technologický sektor odděluje SoFi od klasické banky a vytváří z ní právě takzvanou fintechovou společnost. Takže jak vidíte, první kvartál v roce 2021 46 milionů a přesuneme se do posledního zveřejněného kvartálu, první 2024 94 milionů. Byl zde jeden ztracený kvartál, kde byl pokles, jak vidíte, ze 4.22 na první 23 z 85 na 77, kdy byl ztracen jeden velký klient společnosti, ale i tak se vrátili opět k růstu. A jak vidíte, poslední kvartál Q4 23 a Q1 24, tak tam byl opět mírný pokles, ale společnost to komentuje, že je to pouze cyklická záležitost a že se čeká, až se integrují právě větší klienti, větší banky do systému. Takže ještě jednou díky moc, že jste to dokoukali až sem. Určitě mi napište, co si o tom myslíte do komentáře. Budu moc rád za like, případně odběr a budu se těšit u dalšího videa. Čau.